Hello, my name is Neil Cronin and I'm a professor here at the Faculty of Sport and Health Sciences, and today I'm going to tell you a little bit more about our master's degree program in biology of physical activity. So why might you consider applying for this program? Well, one reason is that we combine theory with practice. So theory is very important in any scientific discipline. There are certain things that you just need to know, but we also give our students a lot of opportunities to get hands-on experience by going in the lab and actually working with research equipment so that they learn how to be a scientist, how to collect data. And obviously this is an international program, but we've been doing this now for about 20 years, and in that time we've had students come from something like 45 different countries around the world, and our staff are also quite international. So it is truly, in every sense, a very international program, and you get to kind of engage in a very multicultural environment on this program. All of our staff are in their own right internationally well known for their own research, but we also have a lot of visiting scientists. So for example, once every year in the autumn we organise an international symposium where we invite some of the world's leading scientists to come and talk to our students about their latest work. And this is kind of like a small conference environment, but it's very good for students. You actually get an opportunity to hear about the latest work, but also to actually interact with the leading scientists. We believe that we have a very unique program. So as I said, we have a strong emphasis on research. And actually when we plan the master's thesis project, which each of our students will do as part of their degree, we always try to plan it with the idea in mind that maybe we can publish something from this. So this is something that's very beneficial for us as a research institute, but it's also very beneficial for you as a student to have that on your CV. And one of the things that I've always particularly enjoyed about being in Finland is that we have these quite small classes. So for me as a teacher, I get to know the students individually, but also it means that I can actually devote more time to helping each of those students. And this is, in my view, a much superior situation compared to if we had maybe a couple of hundred students on our program. Obviously then the student and teacher interaction changes when you have such large group sizes. And a nice bonus of where we are specifically in Jyväskylä is that it's a very beautiful part of the world, and that's something that you can also get familiar with and enjoy alongside your studies here. So a little bit more information about our program then. Each of our students will be allocated to one of the three major pathways, and this is not something you need to know when you apply. This is something that we decide together once the students are actually here. And basically we have common core studies. So these are courses that all of our students take because we want to give you that kind of broad foundational knowledge. But then when you elect the major pathway, that's when you get to kind of specialize a little bit more in one particular direction. And then your thesis project will typically focus on some important scientific problem in relation to one of these three. So biomechanics, exercise physiology, or sports coaching science. Our program is a 2-year full-time program, so 120 ECTS. And as part of that, we have an internship. So this is something that we added a few years ago, and it's a very good opportunity for students to actually get some concrete relevant work experience to put on the CV. So this can be done in Finland, in a research institute, in a company, or it can be done in your home country or even a third country. So it's very flexible, but as I said, it's something that can be a very valuable addition to the CV before you graduate. And then I mentioned the thesis project, so this is quite a large part of the 120 credits. And this is where you start to develop that hands-on lab experience. So the idea is that you would either design a project yourself, go in the lab and collect data, and then analyze that data and hopefully find some new insights from it. Or then another option is you can join an existing project from one of the professors. We often have many projects ongoing, and students can join those projects and help out. And again, you would actually be working with data, analyzing that data and trying to find some meaning and answer some important questions from it. For information about tuition fees, those of you applying from outside of the EU, I suggest that you look at our website for the latest information, because this is something that kind of changes from time to time, so you can find more information there about tuition fees and also potentially about scholarships as well. So what kind of students are we looking for? Here you can see a list of some of the disciplines, the more kind of common bachelor's degree fields that we take our students from. But this is not an exhaustive list. So this is something that we actually look quite carefully at on a case-by-case basis, because we recognize that, for example, if you're coming from a biomechanics background, you might actually have a degree in perhaps physics or mathematics. Those disciplines are not on this list, but what we would do in these cases is look at the individual transcript of your degree and look at the kind of courses you've studied and try and figure out, do we think that you have enough background knowledge to function well in our program? So this is not necessarily a decisive factor if you don't happen to have a degree that's named exactly as one of these that you see on the list here. And as you can see there at the bottom, ultimately what we're looking for are students who have that desire and that curiosity, so that even though you don't know everything you need to know right now, if you have that willingness to learn, that's something that goes a very long way. And where do our students go once they've got the degree and graduated? All of these terms here that you see are actual job titles of some of our former graduates. So some of us, like myself, stay in academia. Around 1/3 of our graduates go on to do a PhD. And in my case, I continued right up to being a full professor. So I was formally in this program as a student. But of course, we recognize that not everybody wants to stay in academia. So many of our students have gone straight from the degree program into working with athletes in various capacities. Some of them have been working at the very highest level with Olympic level, national level athletes in different sports. And obviously coaching is a very common pathway for our graduates. But there are plenty of other support roles as well, working in and around sport, and maybe nowadays also in a more rehabilitation focused environment or even clinical situations as well. So it's not limited just to the sport field, it's quite broad. And then, of course, you might want to go and work in a company, in an industrial position. And some of these terms, like data analyst and software developer, are jobs that in our field didn't really exist 15 or 20 years ago, but they're becoming more and more common now as we collect more and more data from people when they move, during sport situations, during rehab, different health settings. So there are plenty of new job opportunities as well for graduates from this program. So hopefully I've piqued your interest and you're curious and excited to start preparing an application, and I look forward to reading those applications in the upcoming round and hopefully welcoming you here to the University of Jyväskylä in the future.